I came across this post on Reddit that I wanted you all to see. It's about a woman telling her husband that she sees him as more of a liability than a partner. And there's some weaponized incompetence in there, as well as some other things that we must discuss. Sorry for the long post. It's 2 a.m. I'm crying and tired and worn out. If I'm rambling, it's because I've held this in for so long, not wanting to burden friends or family with my marital troubles. I, 34 female, have been with my husband, 34 male, we'll call him Nathan, for 8 years. Ever since our daughter, 3 female, was born, I have been unable to trust Nathan with anything, no matter how small. Background context. When I was 19, after a semi-truck driver fell asleep at the wheel and turned my car into scrap metal with me inside, I have enough metal holding me together that I light up a Christmas tree for TSA and am physically impaired with good days and bad days. I used a portion of my settlement check to buy a house outright and have it retrofit to accommodate my needs, as I'll eventually require a wheelchair. I work in software development as it's fun, and nobody cares if I work from bed on bad days. My husband has not worked in 5 years, which has been fine until our daughter was born. Between the settlement money, a paid-off house, and my salary, I enjoyed having him here with me. He contributed by handling most of the domestics. We pay a weekly cleaner with monthly deep cleaning because it gives us more time together. Ever since our daughter was born, it's like a light switch turned off in his head. For our daughter, he would buy the wrong size diapers, not fully mixed bottles, put diapers on backwards, leave out poop-covered wipes, forget to latch cabinets. This past week, he has gone to the store 3 times because he keeps coming home with the wrong size socks and shoes for her. I eventually just ordered the right ones on Amazon. Pay attention to that. For me, he has tried to help me with my weekly pill organizer, fill up, and several times he has spilled the contents of new medications all over the floor, then not quote-unquote seeing that he didn't get all of them off of the floor. He repeatedly bought me grapefruit juice to take my medications with, a huge no. He has repeatedly forgotten that I can't have dairy and put milk in my coffee or cheese in my burger. He has broken so many things of mine from being careless that he shattered my laptop because it quote-unquote slipped out of his hand when he tried to pack it for a trip, even after I said I would pack my own electronics. Now, how many of us think that this is a quote-unquote mistake? We've lost so many spoons and forks to the disposal. He tried to replace the head gasket in my car and over-torqued the engine bolt, which shattered inside the block. 2 different shops said that they couldn't repair it. We ended up having to get a new vehicle because a replacement engine would have cost $11,000. A week later, he crashed the new car into the garage door because he quote-unquote thought he pressed the brakes, not the accelerator. He wanted to do TikToks and streaming as a hobby. I supported him initially, but I quickly noticed a pattern. Anything regarding our daughter or me, he was sloppy and careless. He never whoopsied his own stuff. He would build entire sets and stream or make videos with and leave the garage and leave his brain in the garage. It came to a head 4 nights ago. He streamed himself building a new set piece, 9 hours straight. Meanwhile, I worked, clocked out early to pick our daughter up from summer camp, cooked and fed us both, got her ready for bed. He came out to help her to bed. I let him know that I needed to get some work done and would be in my office, and I asked if he could take the trash out. He says he would. 2 hours later, I left my office and the house felt really warm. He'd taken the trash out, but he left the front door partially open and was back in the garage with his game volume really loud. I panicked since our daughter is able to get out of bed, and thankfully she was sound asleep, but she could have easily have toddled out of the house and he wouldn't have noticed. Then I noticed the stovetop burner was on with a small pot on top of it with nothing inside. I didn't use the stove for cooking that night. I popped my head into the garage and said, "Hey, I need you for a minute." I informed him that about the door situation. He responds, "Oh, I thought I locked it." We checked the camera and no, he did not. I asked about the burner being on and he said he was planning on making ramen and forgot. He pulled the hot pot off of the burner and put it straight into the sink on top of our daughter's favorite plastic plate, which is now ruined. I'll admit I overreacted and screamed, "What are you doing?" He realized that what he'd done, and he pulled the pot off of our daughter's plate and straight onto the countertop. I grabbed it quickly and run it under the water to cool it down. I tell him I can't tonight. I can't deal with him. I'm taking my meds and I'm going to sleep. He gets a cup from the cupboard and sets it straight onto the burner that had been on. I hit my limit and I started crying. He kept saying that these things happen. It's just an accident. He had a rough day from streaming. He was just tired. Why am I crying? It's just a cup. We can replace it. The anger hit, and I said, "It's because I have a liability, not a partner." He said, "What the F does that mean?" I screamed that it's because I can't trust him to do anything and that I'm always having to watch him like a child, always having to bear the cost of his mistakes, that every time I get careless and think that I can trust him to be an adult, I'm always the one getting effed over. I then said, "I can't see you as a partner anymore. You're just another liability in my checkbook." He immediately stormed out of the kitchen and went to bed. I called my mom and told her what happened. She thinks it's just stress and offered, so her mother is giving her some pick-me advice, right? She offered to take our daughter for a week so we could figure it out without our daughter seeing it. She says that I was the a-hole for, calling my husband a liability. In the morning, I told my husband that my mom would pick up our daughter from summer camp and offer to watch her for a week. He said, "Okay," and that's the only interaction we've had since. He spends all day in the garage playing games with his friends, making TikToks and streaming for food. He's been ordering DoorDash and having the person deliver it to the garage. It's been days and he refuses to be in the same room as me. I've tried messaging him to ask if we can talk or figure out a solution, but he just leaves me on red. If I pop into the garage, he ignores me but apologizes to his friends or viewers for the interruption and geek unmute his mic when the noise stops. Before the blow up, I've asked him if there was something going on. I've tried gently respond to every time he screwed up so that our daughter didn't associate mistake with anger. I asked him to schedule a doctor's visit to see if something is going on wrong with him medically. He always said that I was overreacting, people make mistakes, and didn't see it as an issue, even when the same mistakes kept happening. When I tried to get him to understand that this was concerning, just how expensive his mistakes were getting, he'd wave it off and says it's not like we can't afford it. I love him dearly. I just miss the person he was before we had a child. Pay attention to that. The one I could trust and rely on. Did I screw this up forever? Was I being too harsh on his mistakes? Am I missing something? Am I the a-hole? I believe that there are 3 different things going on here, so stay tuned for part 2 from my breakdown. This is part 2 of I see my husband as more of a liability than a partner. If you haven't seen the first part, go watch that because I read the entire scenario from Reddit, and now I'm going to give you my take. I believe that there are 3 different things going on: weaponized incompetence, abuse, and a little bit of narcissism. On the original post, people began to comment. One person says, "Is her husband special needs?" Another person says, "Maybe he needs to be diagnosed." Another person says, "Sounds like drugs to me." In our male-centeredness, in the patriarchy, we have got to stop making excuses for grown men. Little girls get adultified in their teens, but grown men who are supposed to be leaders and head of household, we are constantly giving them leeway. Go listen to the original post again. She'd been coming to him saying, let's go get you checked out to see if everything is all right. And he has been refusing to go to the doctor. Also, he was fine up until the baby was born. And drugs, no. Let me tell you what I think is going on. In this book by Lundy Bancroft, Why Does He Do That? He talks about how these abusive men always manage to break your things, but they never break theirs. Pay attention to what she talked about in that post. He wanted to become a content creator on TikTok, and he's doing video games. I'm a content creator. There's a lot of microphones, wires, equipment that is very specific. And when it comes to his stuff, there's no whoopsies. She said that in the post. He's able to go out there and get all of these wires, cables, connectors, lights, headphones, game sets, consoles, and all of these other things with no slip-ups. But when it comes to even putting a pamper on the right way, he can't do it, or he's choosing not to. That's weaponized incompetence. When somebody does something so poorly that you might as well just do it yourself. Like she even said at one point, I just had to go ahead and just buy the stuff myself on Amazon and have it delivered. Listen, he's not doing those things because he doesn't want to. He is a grown man. Somebody asked, is he special needs? No, but you know who is special needs? She is. She was in an accident and she is disabled. And she became a mother with this man. And the moment that she became a mother, I'm going to tell you what I think happened. There are a lot of men out there who have this Madonna whore fantasy, and their ultimate idea of the ideal woman is mother. So when she came home with that baby, he probably saw the way in which she nurtured this child. There's this phenomenon that happens with first children when a new child comes into the home. The child, even if they're older, they begin to regress. So they see the baby and there's something inside of them that regresses. I believe that there's a particular brand of narcissism that this man has where he cannot stand to be outbabied, where if he sees, there are some men who, if they see that you're injured, all of a sudden they're more injured. If you're sick, all of a sudden they're more sick. And now that there's a baby in the home, now he has to put the motherhood to the test. Think about all of the things that he's doing. He's going to the store several times. He's crashing the car. He's doing this wrong and doing that wrong. These are things that a teenage boy would do. Remember, there are women who are walking away from relationships with men because it's easier to be a single mother than to have to be a mother to the children and a mother to him as well. In this mother fantasy, they want the person who is nurturing, who is forgiving, who expects nothing of them, who will take care of everything and have that unconditional love, that love for them with no conditions. I personally believe that he has a deep-seated level of resentment for her. Remember, he hasn't worked in 5 years, and we know that men, when their women make more than 40% of the household income, that they start to experience a tremendous amount of stress, they start acting out, etc., etc. I believe that he's been trying to get her to lash out at him for the longest. Like when he crashed the brand new car, like, come on. He thought he had but he's doing all of these things, but he cannot replace that which it is that he's damaging. But when it comes to his own equipment, perfect and pristine, no mistakes or whoopsies there. Remember, there are benefits that he's getting from acting this way, because if he does this for long enough, then she won't ask him anymore. And he can get the benefits of living there as a teenager without any of that daddy duty. Because remember, she said that he was responsible before the baby was born, but now that the baby's here, he wants to get in on some of that action. And the only way to know whether or not this person that you're trying to put in role of mommy figure, the only way to really know whether or not their love for you is unconditional, whether or not they will expect nothing of you, the only way to know is to test it. And he has continuously gone above and beyond to test her limits, to see how much. He tried to burn the house down after he crashed up the car, after he left the door open and endangered. This is head of household. This is the leader. And then not only that, she's come to him and told him, let's get you checked out. And he won't do that. This is not a man who's there to protect and provide for the family. Number one, he's not even providing. And like that one of the commenters said, he hates her. There are a lot of women who are coming up with the theory that these men hate these women. I don't know what it is that he feels in his heart, but I believe that he has a deep-seated level of resentment for the fact that he hasn't been able to step up into that role. He was taking care of the domestic duties before the baby came, but then now that the baby's here, I don't know if he is trying to squander her money until there is no more, so that maybe he could come up like Mighty Mouse from behind. Doo 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 doo, here I come to save the day. I don't know. But I do believe he is trying to punish her, leaving the poop wipes out. She said she would pack her own electronics. When it comes to her electronics, he can't hold the laptop. He can't do this. He can't do that. What is a liability? He is costing her, and he is not bringing in or compensating for that which it is that he's taking. He is a liability. She can't trust him. It would be better for her to be a single mother at this point, because what is he doing? I personally believe that he wants to have the benefits of being taken care of at this point, without the little, the encumbrances of her talking to him. Because when the baby was gone, when the grandmother took the baby and she's trying to have adult conversations with him, he's on the game with his friends. How many of you think that they're not having intercourse? Nobody wants to have intercourse with a son figure. And many of these men think they want a mommy figure, but then who wants to have intercourse with their mommy, even though there are some signals going on out there. But nonetheless, I know that they're not having intercourse. And at this point, he's showing out and really regressing into position of child. And she would be better off getting out of this situation. She would be better off just being a single mother to the child, because at least there wouldn't be anybody leaving the pot on. There wouldn't be no poop diapers. He'd have to work to take care of himself, and so he'd also have to be giving in some child support. It's like, what is this guy's plan? Let me ask you this question. Have you ever found some money or came into some money that you didn't feel good about and you tried to squander it? I believe that he doesn't feel good about the money that he is receiving, especially now that there's a child involved. And I believe that he is trying to bankrupt her so that they could both be in the same boat, so that she would then have to be dependent on him and have to deal with the level of provision that he can provide, which doesn't seem to be very much. In my opinion, her best bet is to leave. I want to know what your thoughts on this are, because I was horrified by what it is that I read. Tanya TKO, we're running out of time, so just leave your comments below on what it is that you think about this whole situation.